Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Starlight and watched the stars through the main window. Her ship was small but fast, built for exploring new parts of space. She had been captain for 3 years now, and she loved her job. The crew trusted her, and she would do anything to keep them safe. "Captain, we're getting close to the Andromeda Transit Zone," said Amy Rodriguez from her spot at the navigation controls. Amy was young but smart, and she could fly the ship through any kind of space storm. "Good work, Amy. Danny, how are the engines running?" Lisa asked. Danny Price looked up from his engineering station. His hands were always dirty from working on the ship's parts, but he could fix anything that broke. "Running smooth as silk. Captain, we've got full power if you need it." Dr. Carl Johnson was checking his medical equipment in the corner. He was older than the rest of them, with gray hair and kind eyes. He had joined the crew because he wanted to help people on the far edges of space. "All medical systems are ready, Captain. Though I hope we won't need them," Lisa smiled. She had a good crew. There were 12 people on the Starlight, and each one was important. They were out here to explore and learn, not to fight. But space could be dangerous, and Lisa always tried to be ready for trouble. "Captain." Amy's voice was sharp with worry. "I'm seeing ships on the scanner. Big ones. They're coming this way fast." Lisa moved to Amy's station and looked at the screen. Her heart sank. The ships were huge, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like they were made of metal and something else, something that looked alive. She had seen pictures of ships like these before, but she had hoped never to see them in person. "Cytherian ships," she said quietly. "How many?" "6 of them, Captain. They're surrounding us." The Cytherians were bad news. Lisa had read all the reports. They were aliens that looked like giant insects, with big compound eyes and clicking voices. They had been taking over planets and enslaving entire species. Any ship that met them either joined them or got destroyed. "Danny, give me all the power you can. Amy, find us a way out of here." "I'm trying, Captain, but they're too fast. They're blocking every escape route." The main screen lit up with an incoming message. Lisa took a deep breath and answered it. The face that appeared was like nothing she had ever seen before. It had huge black eyes that seemed to look right through her. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, and when it spoke, it made clicking sounds. "Human vessel," the alien said through a translator. "You will surrender immediately. Resistance is pointless. Your species will serve the Cytherian Empire." Lisa stood up straight and looked directly at the alien. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the human ship Starlight. We are on a peaceful mission. We don't want any trouble." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Trouble? You are insects compared to us. We have conquered 47 species. Humans will be number 48. You will surrender, or we will take you by force." "We are not surrendering," Lisa said firmly. "We are free people, and we will stay free." The Cytherian's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Foolish. We will show you what happens to those who resist us." The screen went dark. A moment later, the Starlight shook as something hit it. The lights went out for a second, then came back on. "There." "Using some kind of energy weapon," Danny called out. "It's not trying to destroy us. It's trying to shut down our systems. Can you keep us running?" "I'll try, but they're too strong. Our shields are already down to 50%. Lisa looked around at her crew. They were all scared, but they were still working, still trying to save the ship. She was proud of them. But she also knew they couldn't win this fight. The Cytherian ships were too big and too powerful. "Captain," Amy said, "I think I can get us into the asteroid field nearby. If we can hide there, maybe we can find a way to escape. Do it." The Starlight moved toward the asteroids, but the Cytherian ships were faster. They surrounded the human ship like wolves surrounding a rabbit. Energy beams hit the Starlight from all sides. The ship shook and groaned. "Hull breach on deck 3. Danny shouted. "I'm losing power to the engines." "Medical emergency on deck 2. Dr. Carl Johnson was already moving toward the door with his medical bag. Lisa held onto her chair as the ship shook again. She could hear metal bending and breaking. The Starlight was a good ship, but it was no match for 6 Catherian warships. "Captain." "They're sending boarding pods," Amy said. Her voice was shaking now. "They're going to board us." Lisa heard the sound of metal hitting metal as the alien pods attached to her ship. She heard the sound of cutting tools as they burned through the hull. In a few minutes, the Catherians would be inside. "All crew, this is the captain," she said over the ship's communication system. "They're boarding us. Do not resist. I repeat, do not resist. Stay alive. That's an order." She looked at her bridge crew. Danny was still trying to fix the engines. Amy was trying to send out a distress signal. Dr. Johnson had come back to help with the ship's systems. "Captain," Danny said, "I'm sorry. I couldn't keep us running." "You did your best, Danny. All of you did." The bridge door exploded inward. Smoke filled the air, and then the Catherians came through. They were even more frightening in person than on the screen. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with long arms and legs. Their skin looked like dark metal, and their eyes were like black mirrors. "Humans," one of them clicked. "You will come with US now." Lisa stepped forward. "I'm the captain. If you want someone to blame, blame me. Let my crew go." The Catherian looked at her with what might have been curiosity. "You are the leader?" "Yes." "Interesting. You will come with us. The others will be processed." "Processed? What does that mean?" "They will be prepared for service to the Empire. You will be questioned. If you cooperate, they will not suffer unnecessarily." Lisa felt cold fear in her stomach, but she kept her voice steady. "And if I don't cooperate? Then you will all suffer greatly before you die." 2 other Catherians grabbed Lisa's arms. Their hands felt like metal clamps. She looked back at her crew as they dragged her away. "Stay strong," she called to them. "This isn't over." The last thing she saw before they took her off the Starlight was Amy's face, full of fear and sadness. Then she was in the cold metal corridor of a Catherian ship, and her real nightmare was about to begin. Lisa woke up in a cold metal room. Her head hurt badly, and her arms were chained to a chair that felt alive somehow. The metal seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. She could feel wires and tubes connected to her skin, and a strange humming sound filled the air. The room was dark except for a few dim lights that cast strange shadows on the walls. Everything looked wrong here, like the ship had been grown instead of built. The walls curved in ways that hurt her eyes to look at, and she could see things moving behind transparent panels. "Ah, the human leader awakens," came a clicking voice. From the darkness, a Catherian stepped into the light. This one was different from the soldiers who had captured her. It was taller and wore what looked like ceremonial armor. Its compound eyes were bigger, and when it moved, other Catherians moved with it, like they were all connected somehow. "I am Commander Zethkar," the alien said. "I rule this fleet. You will tell me everything about your species. Where are your military bases? How many ships do you have? What weapons do you possess?" Lisa looked directly at the alien commander. "My name is Captain Lisa Morgan. My ship number is Explorer 779. That's all you're getting from me." Zethkar made a sound like angry insects buzzing. "You do not understand your situation, human. We have conquered 47 different species. Each one thought they were special. Each one thought they could resist us. Each one was wrong." He moved closer to Lisa's chair. She could smell something sharp and chemical coming from his body. "Your kind interests us. You are weak physically, but your ships show some intelligence. We have studied the records from your vessel. You explore space not to conquer, but to learn. How strange." "We explore because we want to understand the universe," Lisa said. We want to make friends with other species, not slaves. Friends? Zethkar clicked with what sounded like laughter. There are no friends in space. There are only the strong and the weak. The rulers and the ruled. You will learn this soon enough. He turned to another Cytherian who was standing by a control panel. Begin the first procedure. Lisa felt electricity run through the chair and into her body. It was not enough to seriously hurt her, but it was painful and frightening. The wires connected to her skin began to glow with a soft blue light. This device reads your thoughts and memories, Zethkar explained. It will show us everything we need to know about humanity. Your fears, your weaknesses, your secrets. Nothing can be hidden from us. The machine made Lisa see things that were not real. She saw her childhood home burning. She saw her crew being tortured and killed. She saw Earth covered with Cytherian ships. But somewhere deep inside, she knew these were just false images meant to break her spirit. Interesting, said the Cytherian at the control panel. Her mind is resisting the probe. Most species break down completely within the first hour. Increase the power, Zethkar ordered. The pain got worse, but Lisa gritted her teeth and held on. She thought about her crew. She thought about Amy's brave smile when they flew through dangerous space. She thought about Danny working late into the night to keep the engines running. She thought about Dr. Johnson helping injured people, even when he was tired. She is still resisting, the technician reported. Her brain patterns are unusual. The fear centers are active, but they seem to be making her stronger instead of weaker. Zethkar moved closer to study Lisa's face. Curious, most species use fear to warn them of danger. When we increase their fear, they become paralyzed. But you humans seem to use fear differently. Days passed. Lisa was not sure how many because there were no windows in her cell, and the lights never changed. The Cytherians came every day to torture her with their machines. They tried pain. They tried showing her horrible images. They tried keeping her awake for days at a time. Sometimes they would tell her that her crew was dead. Other times they would say her crew was being tortured because she would not cooperate. Lisa knew they were lying, but the words still hurt. Your crew calls for you, Zethkar said during one session. They scream your name as we experiment on them. All of this could stop if you would just tell us what we want to know. Even if I believed you, Lisa said through gritted teeth, I would never help you hurt other people. That's not who we are. Who you are, Zethkar clicked angrily. You are nothing. You are insects. Your entire species will be absorbed into our collective consciousness. Your individual thoughts will disappear. You will become part of something greater than your small human mind can understand. But as the days went on, Lisa began to notice something strange. The Cytherians were not as united as they pretended to be. Sometimes she would see two of them clicking at each other in what looked like an argument. Sometimes one would leave the room when another came in, as if they did not want to be together. During one torture session, the machine connected to her brain differently than before. Instead of just reading her thoughts, she could suddenly feel something else. For just a moment, she was connected to the Cytherian network, and she could sense their thoughts. What she found there shocked her. The Cytherians were not the confident conquerors they pretended to be. They were afraid. Their species was dying from some kind of genetic disease, and they were desperately trying to find a cure by studying other species. That was why they conquered. So many different kinds of aliens, but there was something else. The individual Cytherians had their own thoughts and fears, just like humans did. The collective consciousness they talked about was more like a prison that kept them from thinking for themselves. Lisa saw one Cytherian's memories of being young and wanting to explore space peacefully, just like humans did. She saw another, one's fear that the collective would punish him for having independent thoughts. She saw their leader Zethkar's terror that he was failing his people, and that they would all die if he could not find a cure. When the connection broke, Lisa looked at Zethkar with new understanding. He was not just a monster. He was a scared person trying to save his species in the only way he knew how. "You're afraid," she said quietly. Zethkar froze. "What did you say?" "You're afraid your people are going to die. That's why you do all this. You think if you can take over enough species, you'll find a way to save yourselves." Silence. Zethkar hit a control, and electricity shot through Lisa's body. But she had learned something important. The Catherians could be hurt too, not with weapons or torture, but with truth. For the first time since her capture, Lisa smiled. She had found their weakness. Lisa had been a prisoner for 2 months now. The Catherians thought she was getting weaker, but they were wrong. Every day of torture had taught her something new about her captors. She was learning to read their body language, to understand their fears, and most importantly, to use their own methods against them. "Today we will try a new approach," Zethkar announced as he entered her cell. "We will show you what happens to species that continue to resist us." He activated a screen that showed horrible images of destroyed planets and enslaved people. Lisa had seen these images many times before, but now she watched Zethkar's face instead of the screen. She saw something in his compound eyes that looked like doubt. "Tell me, Commander," Lisa said calmly, "how many of those species actually chose to resist? Or did you just attack them because you were afraid they might say no?" Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously. "We do not fear inferior species. Then why do you always attack first? Why not try talking to them?" Lisa leaned forward as much as her chains would allow. "You know what I think? I think you're so scared of being rejected that you never give anyone a chance to accept you." Silence. But Zethkar's voice cracked when he said it. Lisa had been studying the Catherians who came to torture her. She had learned their names and their individual fears. The technician who operated the mind-reading machine was called Vexed H. He was older than the others, and Lisa had sensed his memories during her connection to their network. He had once been a teacher before the collective made him into a torturer. "Hello, Vexed," Lisa said when the technician entered her cell alone. "How are your nightmares?" Vexed H stopped moving. "What did you say?" "You dream about the children. You used to teach, don't you? Before they made you into this. You remember what it felt like to help young minds grow instead of breaking them. That is impossible. You cannot know such things." Lisa smiled sadly. "I saw your memories, Vexed. When your machine connected to my brain, the connection went both ways. I know you hate what you've become." Vexeth looked around nervously to make sure no other Catherians were listening. "Even if that were true, there is nothing I can do. The collective decides everything. Individual wants do not matter. But you're having individual wants right now," Lisa pointed out. "You're talking to me alone because you chose to. The collective didn't order this conversation." Vextich was quiet for a long time. Finally he said, "The collective is not as strong as it once was. Some of us have been having independent thoughts. It worries the commanders." "What kind of thoughts?" "Thoughts about whether there might be other ways to solve our problems. Thoughts about whether conquering other species is really helping us, or just making us into monsters." Lisa felt a spark of hope. "What if I told you there was another way? What if humans could help you find a cure for your genetic disease without enslaving anyone? That is impossible. Your species is too primitive, are we? We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed weaker species. We're still here, still exploring, still growing. Maybe what you need isn't our technology. Maybe what you need is our stubbornness." Over the following weeks, Lisa began to plant seeds of doubt in every Catherian she met. She learned that the ship's security chief, Threshka, had always wondered why they needed so many weapons if they were truly superior. She discovered that the maintenance worker Clicker felt unappreciated by the collective and dreamed of recognition for his hard work. "You know, Threshka," Lisa said during one interrogation session, "I've been thinking about what you told me. About your weapon systems. They're really impressive. You must have worked very hard to master them." Threshka puffed up with pride. "I have studied warfare for many cycles. I know every weapon in our arsenal. The collective must really value your expertise." Well, double quotes. Threshka hesitated. "Commander Zethkar makes all the tactical decisions. I merely implement them. That seems wasteful. I mean, you're the expert, right? Shouldn't you be making those decisions?" Lisa could see the idea taking root in Threshka's mind. She was not just surviving anymore. She was fighting back, using psychology instead of weapons. The breakthrough came during her 3rd month of captivity. Zethkar had brought in a new torture device, something that was supposed to cause unbearable pain. But when they activated it, Lisa did something they did not expect. She laughed. "What are you doing?" Zethkar demanded. "I'm thinking about my friend Danny," Lisa said between laughs. "He used to fix our ship's engines, and sometimes he would get so frustrated that he would start cursing at the machines. But he never gave up. He would keep working until he figured out the problem. That's what humans do, Commander. We don't break. We get stubborn. This device should be causing you agony." "Oh, it hurts," Lisa admitted. "But pain is just information. It tells me I'm still alive, still fighting. Every time you hurt me, you remind me why I need to stop you." Zethkar increased the power, but Lisa kept talking. "You want to know the funny thing? All this torture has taught me more about your species than you've learned about mine. You're not conquerors. You're just scared children lashing out because you don't know how to ask for help. We are the masters of 47 species. No. You're the prisoners of your own fear. You've trapped yourselves in a collective that doesn't let you think or feel or grow. You've turned yourselves into machines, and now you're dying because machines can't adapt." Something in Zethkar's eyes changed. For a moment, Lisa saw not the cruel commander, but a desperate person who was watching his entire species slowly die. "Even if that were true," he said quietly, "it is too late to change. The collective will not allow it. The collective is made up of individuals like you and Vexed H and Threshka. If enough of you decide to change, the collective has to change." "2. Impossible. The network is too strong," Lisa smiled. "Want to bet?" During the next torture session, Lisa did something she had been planning for weeks. Instead of resisting the neural connection, she opened her mind completely and let the Catherian network flow into her consciousness. But this time, she was ready for it. She pushed back, using every memory of human courage, every story of people who had refused to give up, every moment of joy and love and stubborn hope she had ever experienced. Lisa sent a flood of human emotion directly into the Catherian collective consciousness. The effect was immediate. Catherians throughout the ship suddenly experienced what it felt like to be truly individual, to make choices based on personal conviction rather than collective programming. They felt Lisa's determination, her refusal to break, her absolute certainty that freedom was worth any price. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Lisa could hear shouting and confusion in the corridors outside her cell. The collective consciousness that had held the Catherian species together for thousands of years was fracturing, and individual thoughts were breaking through like sunlight. Through cracks in a wall, Zethkar stared at her in horror. "What have you done?" Lisa looked at him with calm satisfaction. "I showed them what they've been missing. Now they get to choose who they want to be." The real battle was just beginning. The Catherian ship was falling apart around Lisa. She could hear explosions and fighting in the corridors as individual Catherians turned against each other. Some were trying to restore the collective consciousness, while others were fighting for their newfound freedom. Vexed burst into her cell, his compound eyes wide with panic and something else Lisa had never seen in a Catherian before: hope. "The network is breaking down," he said as he worked to free her from the torture chair. "Half the crew is fighting the other half. Some want to go back to the collective, but others want to stay free." "What about you?" Lisa asked as the chains fell away from her arms. "I remember who I used to be," Vexith said quietly. "I want to be that person again. I want to help people learn instead of hurting them." Lisa stood up slowly. Her legs were weak from months of captivity, but her mind was sharp. "Where is my crew?" "On the prison planet below." "But Lisa, they are not in good condition. The Catherians there have been using them for experiments." Rage filled Lisa's heart, but she kept her voice calm. "Then we need to get them out. Will you help me?" "Yes, but first we must deal with Zethkar. He has locked himself in the command center and is trying to rebuild the collective by force. If he succeeds, all the free Catherians will be enslaved." Again, they made their way through the chaotic ship. Lisa saw Catherians she recognized fighting each other. Threshka was leading a group of former soldiers who had decided they did not want to be weapons anymore. Clichter and other maintenance workers were trying to keep the ship from exploding while the battle raged around them. "This is what freedom looks like," Lisa told Vexed H as they watched the chaos. "It's messy and scary, but it's real. Your people are finally making their own choices." They reached the command center to find it sealed and heavily guarded. But the guards were not trying to keep people out, they were trying to keep Zethkar in. The commander had gone mad, plugging himself into machines and trying to force his will on every Catherian in the fleet. "He's killing himself," Threshka reported when he saw Lisa and Vexed H. "The machines are burning out his brain, but he won't stop. He keeps saying that without the collective, the Catherian species will die." "Maybe it will," Lisa said. "But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe what needs to die is the old way of thinking, not the people themselves." She looked at the frightened faces around her, Catherians who had lived their entire lives being told what to think and do, who were now free to choose for the first time. "Listen to me," she said to all of them. "You don't have to be what you were before. You can decide who you want to be now. You can choose to help other species instead of conquering them. You can choose to heal instead of hurt. But our genetic disease," one of them said. "Without the collective, we have no way to find a cure." "Yes, you do," Lisa said firmly. "You can ask for help. You can work together with other species as equals. You can try science instead of slavery." The door to the command center exploded outward. Zethkar emerged, but he was no longer the proud commander Lisa remembered. The machines had changed him into something monstrous. His body was partly metal now, with wires and tubes running through his flesh. His eyes glowed with artificial light, and when he spoke, his voice was like grinding gears. "You have destroyed everything," he screamed at Lisa. "My people are scattered and confused. Our great empire is crumbling. This is your fault." "No," Lisa said, standing her ground even though the monster towered over her. "This is freedom. This is what happens when people get to choose their own lives." Zethkar raised one of his metal arms, which had become a weapon. "I will kill you and then restore order. The collective will be rebuilt, stronger than before." "You can't rebuild something that was never real," Lisa said. "The collective was just a way to avoid making hard choices. But real strength comes from making those choices, even when they're difficult." The battle was brief. Zethkar was powerful, but he was also alone. The other Catherians, led by Vexed H and Threshka, worked together to stop him. They did not want to kill their former commander, but they would not let him enslave them again. When it was over, Zethkar lay broken on the floor, the machines finally silent. With his last breath, he looked at Lisa with something that might have been understanding. "Perhaps," he whispered, "you were right about us being afraid." Lisa knelt beside him. "Being afraid isn't wrong. It's what you do with the fear that matters. You could have asked for help instead of taking it. With the command ship in chaos, Lisa convinced Thrucka to give her a shuttle. She flew down to the prison planet to find her crew. What she found there made her sick with anger. The Catherians had been using humans and other species as test subjects. Trying to understand their biology. Danny Price was connected to alien machines that had partly replaced his organs. Amy Rodriguez had been injected with chemicals that changed her DNA. Dr. Carl Johnson was barely alive, kept conscious so he could be forced to perform medical procedures on other prisoners. But they were alive, and when they saw Lisa, their faces lit up with joy and relief. "Captain," Danny said weakly, "we knew you'd come for us." "I'm sorry it took so long," Lisa said as she worked to free them from the alien machines. "But we're getting out of here. All of us. It took weeks to rescue all the prisoners and restore them to health." The free Catherians helped, working alongside humans and other species to undo the damage that had been done. They shared their medical technology freely, no longer trying to steal what they needed. Vext became a teacher again, this time teaching young Catherians and humans to work together. Thrushka used his military knowledge to help protect refugee ships instead of attacking them. Clipter and the other workers helped build new ships designed for exploration and cooperation rather than conquest. The Catherian Empire was finished, but the Catherian people survived. They were different now, smaller in number but free to choose their own path. Some chose to work with humans and other species to find a cure for their genetic disease. Others chose to explore distant parts of space. A few even chose to become artists and musicians, creating beautiful things instead of weapons of war. Lisa and her crew returned to human space as heroes, but Lisa did not feel like celebrating. Too many people had died because of the war. Too much suffering had been caused by fear and misunderstanding. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Amy asked as they watched the stars from the bridge of their new ship. "I think we did the only thing we could do," Lisa replied. "We refused to break. And sometimes that's enough to change everything." The galaxy was different now. The Catherian Empire was gone, but in its place was something better. A group of free peoples working together to solve problems instead of creating them. It was not perfect, but it was real. And Lisa Morgan, the captain who would not break, had helped make it possible.